And now I give the floor to the distinguished observer of the Sovereign Order of Malta.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, war undoubtedly has the effect of breaking down the structures of society, the very structures that are there to protect us. And in so doing, war imposes on human beings, in the words of philosopher Thomas Hobbes, a human condition which is solitary, cruel, nasty, brutish, and short. Conditions that are equally shared by both the victim and the aggressor. Over the past 12 months, the escalation of hostilities in Ukraine, the internal and external displacement of over 8 million people, with millions more living in daily fear through their lives, the humanitarian and national and international aid community has been a key lifeline and a link between a deteriorating human condition and the possibility of hope. And that hope is enshrined in the words of Secretary General Antonio Guterres when he said, "We want a world to be defined by the values enshrined in the United Nations Charter: peace, justice, respect, human rights, tolerance, and solidarity." And this remains our strongest tool in achieving harmony, not only between human beings, between Ukrainians and Russians, but also between us and our planet. Extending here, I'd like to quote Pope John XXIII in his seminal encyclical Parchimentaris, when he says this: "Since we are social by nature, we must live together and consult each other's interests. We should recognize and perform our respective rights and duties, which are imperative to a well-ordered society." The past 12 months have seen almost a total breakdown in this social contract in a part of the world formerly marked by promise and industry, the breadbasket of the world. Not only have we witnessed the devastating destruction of Ukraine, but we have seen also a breakdown in the wider context of international civil discourse. The crucial question is, can we put it right? Well, we all have a role to play in contributing to a better world tomorrow. It's a challenge for each of us right now. Sadly, it seems this war has no sign of slowing down. Therefore, we must all maintain our humanitarian support for the people of Ukraine. Is it not time for more of us to turn our swords into plowshares? Like many armies of aid agencies, the Sovereign Order of Malta and representatives of other religious, Catholic and faith-based organizations maintain a presence at the Ukrainian border, as does our work within the country, providing 24-hour assistance to refugees, families, displaced persons, individuals trapped by conflict, through medico-social projects, psychological support, the provision of health, hygiene products, food, housing, and we've recently announced an increase in psychosocial support and aid programs across our teams. This year of conflict has led to social, financial, and political environmental effects that have reverberated across the planet. Back in 2015, when the Sustainable Development Goals were introduced, it was a moment in time representing a more conscious attitude towards global development and diplomacy, one that encouraged transparency and accountability, not only how we work for our future, but more importantly, why it is essential to work for our future. And with continuing crises requiring attention of the international community, the devastating effects of this war sadly represent a marginal level of problems we continue to face as a collective humanity. The recent tragedies in Pakistan, in Turkey, in Syria remind us that natural disasters and their consequences remain out of our immediate control, while inhibiting our success in achieving the 2030 Agenda. And whilst Russia's aggression in Ukraine has created the world's largest displacement crisis, countries in the Horn of Africa continue to face droughts that have led to a catastrophic rise in hunger. Moreover, we have witnessed entire generations across the world being pushed into extreme poverty, as well as horrifically high death tolls from the 26 other conflicts that are being perpetuated on our landscape. Climate change continues to wound countries that are without the infrastructure to deal with it sufficiently, and the Sustainable Development Goals continue to extend further out of reach to those who most need them. Next month sees the UN Water Conference here in New York, and while access to clean water is an issue faced more often than not by developing countries, due to the war in Ukraine, more than 6 million Ukrainians have either limited or no access to clean water. We must all recognize that the setbacks that nature continues to throw in our path are already enough to keep us from reaching the targets of the SDGs. Simply put, we cannot afford any type of war if we want to meet the climate battle for ourselves and make it for our future generations. Distinguished colleagues, if we fail to find a workable solution to the war in Ukraine, and if our plowshares of aid and humanitarian assistance continue to run out or be compromised, then a Hobbesian image will become ever more real, and peace and security will give way to something that is cruel, brutish, and short. Thank you.
I thank the distinguished observer of the Sovereign Order of Malta.